experience, Jackson Snyder presents. We will examine the life of our Master Yeshua by discovering his ancestors, family, and friends, by reviewing rare ancient manuscripts, and speaking to those who know him best. From the Vero Essene Yahad, now experience, Jackson Snyder presents.
Shalom, y'all. Y'all, that's what we use here in Florida for the plural of you. Y'all, or y'all. Now that you've had that lesson, we're going to talk about Kratom and Corona today. We have a nice panel of naturopaths, autodidacts on hand to help us understand better what natural means we can use against the coronavirus and against pain and depression. So, time is of the essence. Here we go. Did snowbirds went home?
No, I'm the Sandy over here in Texas.
Yeah, did your snowbirds go home? Snowbirds certainly go down there.
You know, the nice thing about Texans is they're really fearful. So, there might be 3 or 4 cars at an intersection at noon here. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's crazy. They've really shut down. We've been volunteering with the food distribution handouts here for the last month, and people aren't even coming out for food where there's normally 300 people, and they're not coming out. I mean, they planned for 150 this time. We had 93 people, and they're like, well, y'all take it home because it's on a truck, so it can't go back. So
that's pretty amazing right there. If they're not coming for the free food.
That is crazy, Uh-huh. They probably threw away 500 pounds of red onions. I mean, it's just, the waste is
that's the best thing you can really use.
And onions and black pepper are just arsenals, big, huge, heavyweight arsenals in this fight here. Yes, so. But yeah, we, it's amazing. We didn't go out and stock up on groceries or anything. We did our normal grocery shopping, bought a little extra rice and stuff, but nothing major. But with Sweetie working at a grocery store and then both of us, helping out at the food distribution. I mean, we're packed in with food. We don't need any more. That's
great. Well, this is Sandra in Texas.
Yes.
And before that was Sherry, who lives right around here.
Hi, Sherry.
Hello.
I welcome the rest of you. I hope I've got something to share that's worthwhile. I want to go into the coronavirus a little bit because I've gotten some kind of inside information this week. We had a coronavirus seminar last week with Dr. Heston, which I thought was really good. Almost too much information, but he claims that you can both protect yourself and heal yourself with weeds that you find in the backyard, which I found that pretty hard to believe. But then I went and did a little research and find out that what he's saying is true. So you might want to listen to his presentation, which you can find at jacksonsnyder.podbean.com. I've got a few links for you I want to put up right away. You might want to save them if you're really interested in this and some alternative information. Then you can save these links and I'll go into them just some little bit. I also want to talk about Kratom, if there's time left. If not, I'll do that next week. Right now, for the links, I didn't get to look this one over. Copy. But I wanted to because I just got this in. That doesn't look right. Let me try again. Is it coronavirus or is it 5G? Let's see if that works.
This content is not intended to be a substitute for...
Yes, that does work. 5G, and when you think about it, there is a connection there, more than one connection. Perhaps somebody could check that out and let me know. The second one, is concerning, I'm having trouble with these. Sorry. Try this one. Yes, it works. This one is a UK commentary that comes to me from Liz Goodman, who's a health-conscious individual in the UK and a podcaster. And she sent this over as information concerning the social distancing. And I want to go through some of those points there. The next one, I put this one up on Facebook. It is from Providence Magazine. If you're not familiar with Providence, this group, which I found out that my grandson works for and is a reporter for, reports on the conjunction of the secular world events, and the Christendom, we'll put it that way. And it's about the awful arithmetic that Lincoln spoke of. Maybe some of you read this online. Perhaps we'll touch on that. And I think I got one more. No, those will do. Those will do. Sometimes you get so many windows up, you don't know where you're going next. And I want to go to that UK commentary real quick. And I would ask you, I'm certainly not any kind of expert in this area. I'm really dumb. So if you can add something to what I'm going to consider here, please do. Just break in. This is more of a forum than anything else. And the title of this article is Lockdown, an Unnecessary Measure. And there are links for each one of these topics, but I'm only going to give you the topic. If you want this article, just take a look at the links that I just gave you. It's one of those. As of March 19th, COVID-19 is no longer considered to be a high-consequence infectious disease, at least not in the UK. Now, what I've looked at are some statistics in regards to the actual regular flu and the COVID-19. And it seems like that the actual flu is much more prevalent than this is, at least at this time. But if it's considered no longer a high consequence infectious disease, then we've got to think, if that is true, that this is, well, I should say, Yahweh is mending the world. One of the things that really bothers me are evangelists today using this as a proof of some prophecy that they might have had concerning the judgment of the United States or the judgment of the world. And there are a couple of people that are on the Yahad Facebook think tank that seem to think that way and are using this very much, I think, to pad their own popularity or to get hits or something like that. These guys are pretty well known. You probably know who I'm talking about. One of them says that he prophesied this straight out, and the other one says that there's no way around the world's surviving this, that the world is not going to survive this. Well, I always believed, like Daniel spoke this morning in a very, very good sermon, that we always have hope through Messiah, and that our first course of action here is not to look at the enemy or the disease as insurmountable, but rather look to Yahweh as the master of creation, who allows things to happen, but then for his people finds a solution. In Italy, as you know, that's one of the worst hit countries, but a few months ago, they found that the flu deaths in Italy were between 7,000 and 25,000 a year in these recent years. And that value is higher than in most other European countries due to the elderly population, so they say, and also because of the air pollution index there. There's something in the air that always makes Italy to be having the highest number of deaths for these kinds of communicable diseases. I have heard from people that have traveled to Italy, and I've never been there, that everything is filthy, and that might just be the case. Still, the regular flu there is much higher than anything attributed to COVID-19 so far. Next, we go to the World Health Organization, the ones that probably originated the HIV virus. If you remember an article of maybe 20 years ago or 30 years ago when HIV was just starting out, this article went viral before there was an internet. Who started HIV? And who, of course, is the World Health Organization, that they, by some means, concocted that virus in their aim to discover new viruses in Africa, and that it got away from them. Just as well as we're hearing about the concoction of this virus at Wuhan, and it getting away and getting into that shrimp market across town. That makes a greater amount of sense than people getting this from eating bats. The World Health Organization reports that COVID-19 is in fact spreading slower and not faster. That influenza, I should say slower than influenza by a factor of about 50%. So when we talk about new cases, we're talking about what people are getting, or the flu like I had this last month, rather than the COVID-19, and otherwise in the months to come we'll see about that, and if it doesn't go down. Back to Italy, a leading doctor reports that strange cases of pneumonia were seen in the Lombardy region already as early as November 2019, raising again the question if they were caused by the new virus, which officially only appeared in Italy in February 2020, or by other factors, such as the dangerously high smog levels in northern Italy. Danish researcher Peter Goetze, founder of the renowned Cochrane Medical Collaboration, writes that corona is, quote, an epidemic of mass panic, and, quote, logic was one of the first victims of this epidemic. I must agree with that. I have never seen such propaganda and such media coverage, negative media coverage, as this is getting. If we are to listen to that, then we're all doomed. Former Israeli health minister, Professor Yoram Lass, says that the new coronavirus is, quote, less dangerous than the flu, and lockdown measures will, quote, kill more people than the virus. He adds that the numbers don't match the panic and psychology prevailing over science, or I shouldn't even say psychology, I would say mass hysteria prevailing over science. Why do people run on grocery stores for toilet paper? That's what Daniel asked this morning. That doesn't even make sense to me. I can understand why they would go in their hysteria for bleach, but toilet paper? This same professor also notes that Italy is known for its enormous morbidity in respiratory problems. That's death by lung cancers and pneumonia, etc., more than 3 times any other European country. Swiss infectious disease specialist, by the way, there are no cases reported in Switzerland. He argues that many of the imposed measures are not based on science and should be reversed. According to Vernaza, that's his name, mass testing makes no sense because 90% of the population will see no symptom. And lockdowns and closing schools are even counterproductive. He recommends protecting only risk groups while keeping the economy and society at large undisturbed. There are so many that I have read that kind of pit one people group over another. And primarily what they're saying in couched words is, let the elderly die so the younger can live. And that is just immorality. That's all we can call it. To let a certain group of people here die because they're more vulnerable, let the virus get them and stay away from the younger ones is even coming from some Christian leaders. The president of the World Doctors Federation, Frank Ulrich Montgomery, argues that lockdown measures, as in Italy, are unreasonable and counterproductive and should be reversed. I wish I had a better reason as to why. There were no deaths in Switzerland. There were 2 test positive victims. One was a 96-year-old in palliative care, and another was a 97-year-old with pre-existing conditions. Well, we would expect that if a viral infection went through, these people might be quite open to it. See if there's anything else here. I want to go on to some of the preventatives that we can find locally, which you probably already know about. But Anne Lelkendi sent me over this article on viral wisdom, and this comes from Tanya Judd on the internet. David Christopher is a well-known naturopath, and he writes this: the first line of defense for your immune system is the thin layer of mucus that covers and protects all tissues that line the entrance orifices of your body. Macrophages and other white blood cells can enter this thin layer of mucus and devour invading viruses and present the invader's genetic code to T helper cells that activate T killer cells. This signaling is accomplished through the chemical messenger interleukin-1. This immune activating signal also elevates the body temperature set point, triggering a fever. This life-saving mechanism amplifies the immune response and impairs the invading viruses. As the immune system kicks into high gear, the mucus thickens with the debris of destroyed viruses and damaged white cells. Now, at this point, we encourage expectoration, that is spitting. We encourage getting that mucus out because the excess mucus you have is on account of the cells that have been destroyed by not only the virus, but also by your killer T cells. Get rid of that mucus, the excess mucus. We boil a pan of water, remove it from the heat, spray into the boiled water certain essential oils, which are contained in Dr. Christopher's MPR formula. You know what that is. And inhale the steam and MPR deep into our sinuses and lungs, which stimulates coughing and blowing the waste out of our bodies. Charlie and I were talking this week about what we did for the flu as children, or what was done for us. And interestingly enough, even though our cultures are very different, the remedy was about the same. When I was a young kid, my grandmother used Vicks Vapor Rub and a couple of oils and would oil me up really good and put me in long underwear and put me in a feather bed with several comforters over. And she would talk about sweating this out. Well, in the villages of the Philippines at about the same time, they did about the same thing. They would use their natural remedies from the backyard, like echinacea, onions, garlic, and boil the onions and garlic down and whatever other herbs they thought were effective. Boil them down into a paste and put them on all over the body, then wrap those parts and put them to bed. I found that pretty interesting because you know what? That worked at that time. Not to mention a healthy dose of Castoria because it brought the mucus up, and in a couple of days, we felt better. We never thought that mucus was dead cells and dead viruses and everything else that was collecting there that we needed to get it out. We would not be encouraged to cough it up. Then James Duke, in his book Green Pharmacy, which is available, and it's expensive. It's about $100 for the Green Pharmacy. He says what we already know. Antibiotics are generally useless against viruses. But several herbs used in traditional herbal medicine have scientifically documented antiviral effects. They're what I use when I have colds, flu, and other viral infections. And he mentions a few here. One I did before, echinacea. We just think of these things as herbs or weeds, at least I do. But echinacea has ingredients that fight viruses in two ways. There are 3 compounds with specific antiviral activity: caffeic acid, chicoraic acid, and echinacin. Root extracts of echinacea have also been shown to act like interferon, which I just mentioned, the body's own antiviral compound. In addition, echinacea is an immune stimulant that helps the body defend itself against viral infection more effectively. Of course, that's one that Dr. Heston proposed that we use and find in the backyard if we could last week. The second one, astragalus. That sounds like a Greek god, doesn't it? Astragalus. In one small Chinese study, 10 people whose heart muscles were infected by Coxsackie B virus, which causes the heart inflammation known as myocarditis, and I have known people to have died with this, received injections of astragalus extract for 3 or 4 months. The activity of their natural killer cells, a component of the immune system, rose 11 to 15%, and that's significant. They also showed increasing levels of alpha and gamma interferon, the body's own antiviral compounds. And another one, very common, that I ate last night and enjoyed very much was garlic. Several of the sulfur compounds in garlic are active against the flu virus, according to Heinrich Koch, PhD, a pharmaceutical chemist. A naturopathic doctor, Jane Gultinan, well, you don't probably know the name any more than I do, suggests up to 12 fresh cloves a day. Fresh cloves. I guess that means not cooked. Wow. How do you eat that? Duke's other antiviral herbs suggest golden seal, dragon's blood, juniper, drink more gin, lemon balm, licorice root, shiitake mushroom, eucalyptus, forsythia, and ginger. All of these have properties that are antiviral. Checking the chat here. Elderberry is not mentioned in this particular article, but sounds good. Oregano oil is another one we need to get. Astragalus, where do you get that? What form does it come in? Olive leaf, oregano oil, mixed spirulina, and Spanish needle tincture is mentioned here.
Jackson,
Mark,
if I can intervene about that mix that I made, spirulina is really great for any respiratory problems. I know that if you have like chronic bronchitis or anything like that, it will cure it, period, if you take it regularly. Olive leaf is a natural bronchial dilator. And so it's really great for, if you have breathing problems in general. Oregano oil will actually kill pneumonia. That's why I mixed it in with the powder. So they've actually done studies. You can take 20 drops of oregano in a gallon of water, and if you shake that and consume a gallon every day within 3 days, you will kill the pneumonia virus.
Yes, my mother, somebody gave her oregano oil, and now it is in her medicine chest.
You may contact us at Jackson Snyder Presents at this email address, veroyahad@gmail.com. That is veroyahad@gmail.com. And let me remind you, you are listening to Jackson Snyder Presents with your host tonight, Bogdan G. Shrumkov. Thank you for listening. We'll be right back. Jackson Snyder Present is back. Join us now for more of this interesting discussion.
Because it worked so well when she had the flu here recently. And Phil tells me that he's taking that down with him if he ever gets to go back to Haiti again, because it's been so effective also with his cardiovascular disease, because you don't dare get pneumonia or the flu when you've got heart problems.
Well, when you have COPD, you have one of three things. You have a virus, you have a bacterial infection, or you have a fungal infection. They just say COPD.
Mm-hmm.
Oregano oil and olive leaf is one of the strongest antifungals that you can mix up. It literally will kill warts. It's incredible. This mix, I take the 0 capsules. They're a big capsule. I take 3 times a day. And I have not had any problem, and I feel quite confident that I'm not going to foresee any problem with this. So,
spirulina, isn't that something they use as a dietary?
Spirulina is a blue-green algae that's been, it was cultivated by the Aztecs. Yeah, it's considered one of the superfoods. They say that if you had nothing but that to live on, that it would be 100% nutritionally complete for the body.
Really?
Yes.
That's if you all have other suggestions, yes, get on here and make them, or make them on the chat.
Right.
Because we have a few on here today, but these podcasts go out to a lot of people. So this is going to help a lot of people if you can get on here and give us your suggestions. One thing that has worked for me very well for a number of illnesses, especially for teeth. If you can't afford a dentist, and who can these days, even for abscesses, and that is Melaleuca oil. I use that for respiratory illnesses, sore throats, infected teeth, breakouts on the skin, and I use it just straight. And I think the Melaleuca brand is the best you can get. And also make something called a Melagel, which is Melaleuca oil, or tea tree oil it's called, that is mixed with petrolatum, so you can rub it on, making a cream out of it. It's very effective, very expensive. But you can also go down to the drugstore and get some of this, gargle it, brush your teeth with it, whatever else you need. And what's been really amazing to me is I've had a couple of abscesses here in the last couple of months, and brushing with the Melaleuca oil, the tea tree oil, has gotten rid of them. They've come out and broken in a very short time and gone away. Colloidal silver, everybody should have a colloidal silver maker. They're very inexpensive. You can get one for $25 or make one yourself from plans off of the internet. That works good. Spanish needle, beggar's tick. Beggar's tick, is that a tick? You put it on your head and it injects you with a Spanish needle? Beggar's tick. Not heard of that before. Copper kills viruses on the skin, or do you take copper pills? That's supposed to restore your hair back to its natural color. It didn't work for me, though.
Not chlorella. Let me see. What is it? Chlorophyll. You can.
Chlorophyll.
Some states you can buy it. I know in Washington State it's illegal, but it is extremely high in copper.
Chlorophyll is illegal?
Yeah, you can't, because people were taking so much it was killing them, which I've never heard. That's what the lady told me. But I've never heard that before. But I take it. I don't take it regularly, but I caught an article that they said they were talking about how long the virus lived on certain surfaces.
Mm-hmm.
Like it lives over 20 hours on plastic. It lives 16 hours on stainless steel, but copper, they found it could only live 4 hours.
Can't
maximum.
stand that. Would you ingest that?
Sure. The chlorophyll. Yeah, you can buy it online in a powder. It's just an herb.
Isn't it just any green plant out there? Dry?
Well, the thing that I think that we miss so much with the herbs is the fact that their cells have light in them. We're told that Yeshua is the light. Is he not the light? So those green herbs, they have light in their cells. And when you consume them, you are consuming his being, I believe, honestly.
Well, yes. I believe that when we see light in the scripture, especially in your old Bibles where it is capitalized, that there's something behind that.
Right.
Definitely. And what's the best killer of anything? Well, ultraviolet, sun rays. Christopher, again, he's the founder of the School of Natural Healing. He says this, and this is true: the best insurance in the world against any flu epidemics, plagues, or killing diseases is to have your body in a good, healthy condition. Disease germs are merely scavengers and can live only on toxins, poisons, mucus, residue from junk foods. They cannot and will not damage healthy cell structure. They can't damage your cell, but they live on the junk in your bloodstream. This is key to health. Keep your body clean by avoiding mucus-forming foods, and bacteria and viruses will pass you by. They will want nothing to do with your body because it will be so clean and have no filth for them to live on. If a plague or some other epidemic hits before you are in a healthy condition, it's good to use anti-plague formula, I guess, that he makes as an aid for fast cleaning. Now, isn't this what Torah is all about? They say ritual cleansing, but it's far more than that. And you can hardly doubt that the healing of leprosy, for instance, can't be believed in the Bible. It must have worked because people went to show themselves to the priest, the diagnostician, and found that their leprosy had been healed through one means or another. So anyway, Christopher, I'm not doing an ad for him, but he's got several formulas for these things, anti-plague, lung and bronchial, et cetera, and you can find him on the internet if you want. See, how's our time? I was going to go a little longer today, if you don't mind. The awful arithmetic is spoken of in one of the links that you have. In December 1862, the Union Army was defeated at the Battle of Fredericksburg and lost almost 13,000 men killed, wounded, or captured. President Abraham Lincoln grieved the death of his troops, but understood that because the Union had more men than the Confederacy, it could lose battles all the way to the final victory. Lincoln, trading lives for a public purpose, called this his awful arithmetic. Few people in normal times have to do awful arithmetic. Until this week, the writer says, I would have assumed that no one would want to do it, but now, faced with the COVID-19 pandemic, in which the United States must seemingly make the frightful choice between saving lives and saving the economy, we inexplicably have a legion of volunteer mathematicians lining up to show off how well they can make the terrible calculations to decide who lives and who dies. This is especially true in the Hebrew roots groups, so-called prophets. They are using these numbers for their own good. Yes, there will come a time when the governing authorities and their actuaries and mathematicians and experts will have to start making the hard choices about when to ease back to normalcy, understanding that means greater risk and perhaps more preventable deaths. This is not yet that time. And he goes on to talk about the false god of saving lives. This is in the Providence newsletter that I spoke of before by Paul Miller, March 25th. And you have a link to that. I would suggest that you read that because it comes from a faith perspective, and there are some pretty shocking matters in there that people of a secular and some by Christian persuasion are considering, that is, the sacrificing of a certain population in order to supposedly save another population. So read that, especially under the header Governance and Injustice. I'm not going to take the time to do that here. And so that's all I have on coronavirus. We could go on forever. I hope maybe somebody has a little more information on that. Thieves oil. I have thieves oil here. You can buy it. One thing that's in that is definitely cloves. If somebody has the recipe for thieves oil, maybe you could put it up here. LG Stylo 4. I think that might be Anne. She says, I have it in the fridge. I have the liquid stinging needle. It's another great one to heal all. Wolf's Mom, Thieves Essential Oil Blend from Young Living. Yes, I have some. And you should be able to make that. You ought to be able to find that online. Anne also says, if you want any information on how to get these recipes, just email me, and I will pass on those recipes. She knows a lot about oils, and she has a lot of oils. So you can get a hold of me at yahad.me anytime, and I'll get right back with you. Yahad.me. I'd like to talk about Kratom or Kratom for a few minutes, the rest of my time, because this is an herb, and nothing but an herb, that is right now being made war upon by the FDA and the DEA, using false statistics and every other kind of what I can only say are lies concerning this herb. Now, you all know that I use this herb and have been using it ever since about 2016 when I discovered it. And I have a testimony on that. If you haven't heard about this, let me just read this testimony for a second. All my life, I've endured what was sometimes unbearable bodily pain from a degenerative spine disease. Now, this is me speaking.
You have been listening to Jackson Snyder Presents on Hebrew Nation Radio.
I also admit that depression has gotten the best of me until I decided to go on depression medication back in the 90s. A couple of years ago, I cracked a molar. I've cracked 2 more since then. My teeth crack. But it wasn't the first time, and dentist after dentist refused to take the tooth out because they say they could repair it. But after months of agony, I finally found a dental surgeon who would take it out. People with heart disease, arterial disease, you can't find a dentist. They will not touch you because of the connection between the heart and the teeth. They don't want the obligation. They don't want to take a chance with their license, not even at the extraordinary prices they choose just to pull teeth, when we all know that you can take your teeth out with an ice skate. Remember that on Castaway? So why is it that we must tolerate such pain and depression? Why is it that our government must regulate the medication that will help? We go to a doctor, we get Tylenol, a poison that doesn't work for pain, at least not for me. It has never worked. Marijuana is a great painkiller, but it's illegal in most places, and what I don't like about it is it messes with my head. Still in our state, there are draconian penalties associated with it. When I was a young man in my state, the possession of it got you a life imprisonment. My quest since the incident with the tooth has been to find something for pain and depression that is free to the people. Look, I've been looking for something for a long time. We should not have to endure the huge burden of doctor's visits, high pharma costs, feeling shamed when we go to the doctor for pain, the threat of jail, and the ruination of our reputations. That doctor ought to be able to tell who's coming in for recreation and who isn't. 3 times that I've gone to the hospital, they have diagnosed me as an alcoholic going through delirium tremens. Can you believe that? And wouldn't treat me without a drop of alcohol in my system. But they would be glad to put a catheter in me or give me a shot of something rather than to treat whatever the pain was, whatever the cause of the disease was. If you can find a good doctor, you are most fortunate. In my condition, I've had lots of doctors in my time, lots of them, and I can only count the good ones on one hand's fingers. Now, I found Mitragina speciosa, better known as Kratom or Kratom. I didn't think the testimonials about it were true, but another scam. Finally, I bought some, and when I ate a little of it, I was astounded that it fixed both my pain and depression, and within 30 minutes, and lasted 8 hours. I take it every day now, and I put away the NSAIDs, the aspirins, the Advils, pills and capsules. I don't need them anymore. Pain and depression are manageable again. And I mean depression too. I think the Almighty gave us this, and I thank him for helping me find a particular variety of Mitragina speciosa that works so well for me. And this is how it works. This variety, called Mangda, is a relative of the coffee plant. It's grown in the Far East. I buy it from Indonesia. I buy it for other people from Indonesia. It's a risk to get it here from there. They sell it in the United States. There are many vendors online, but they sell it for such a high price, knowing that nobody is going to actually send to the source for it. And I get it from the source for a very reasonable price that I pass on to those that want it, plus shipping. This plant has big leaves. They're ground into a powder. The powder, or when they're made into capsules, are taken with water. The best is with hot water. The molecules of the Mangda fit into the opioid receptors of the brain. The effect is much like that of an opioid like morphine. I've got to say, it's better than morphine for the pain. It kills the pain and raises the mood significantly. It is, however, not an opioid or narcotic. It is not highly addictive. If you're a long-time user like I am, and when I don't take it, it takes about 2 days for it to get through my system, and then I'm back to the same old pain I had. It doesn't cure anything, but it can help those who are addicted to opioids to get off the opioids. As they take the Mangda, their opioids don't work anymore because the receptors are full with the kratom molecules. There, we got it. So when they take the opioid on top of that, the opioid is rejected. I have tested this myself, and what I'm saying is true. So they're on the kratom for 3 weeks or a month, every day, instead of the morphine or the heroin or whatever they're using. And at the end of that time, they are off the opioid, and they've got a 2-day withdrawal from the kratom. I've talked to scores of people that have used it for this reason, to get off heroin, to get off cocaine, and some to get off alcohol. Further, this is not detected in drug testing today. The results have really been significant for me, and perhaps, though I'm not trying to sell anything here, I sell it primarily at my cost. But I am enthusiastic about it because it has helped me so much, and I think of other people that it could help that don't know anything about it. I wanted to make it free to everyone. Typically, online, this costs $16 or more per ounce plus shipping. Now, that's expensive. I was looking for a deal here, and I found one, but I had to go all the way across oceans to find it. And I try to pass the savings on to you. I sell it right now, including postage, for $79 for over 2 pounds a kilo. A new message. I believe that it's the Father's gift to us, and I believe we can get the price down even less than that. However, the FDA and the DEA have been able to make this illegal and have it called an opioid anyway for states like Alabama, Arkansas, Indiana, some places like San Diego, Sarasota, Vermont, Wisconsin. It's considered a dangerous scheduled drug. I was happy to see in Tennessee, where it was illegal, they changed their mind on it, and now it's legal in Tennessee. There are state-by-state fight on this. There's an organization, the American Kratom Association, that is fighting this tooth and nail because the FDA wants to make this a scheduled narcotic. And when that happens, that's the end of it. You know what'll happen. The doctors, the pharma, they will have a hold of it then. The United States will get a patent on it like they have on marijuana. And that'll be the end of it for you. Back to Tylenol. So that's my testimony on that. Now, I have a little more, just have to find it. Well, maybe I don't. How many here have used this for pain? We still have 10 on here. I'm looking at who's here, and I know some of you have.
Yeah, I'll take it.
Do you use it?
Yes, I do.
Uh-huh. Just about everyone on here, actually, I know there's at least tried it.
Yeah, I take it for lower back pain.
Mm-hmm. Does it help you?
Yes, very much.
Very much. Is it expensive?
Not really. I mean, I guess some would say, but I don't think so.
Uh-huh. Well, if you can get 2 pounds for $70 or so, 2 pounds will last you a long time. Unless you really have pain and you use a lot of it, still 2 pounds will last you a couple months. Here's somebody else says, I've used it. It worked great. I wish I could get some. Just let me know. Well, Donald McGrew is on here. He's listening, but he's about to ride away. Sanders used it. So if you need a sample of it, I'm going to say, whoever is here, let me know. I'll send you a sample. It's not poison. It's not going to kill you. It's completely treated. It's gone through complete viricide, germicide. It's been processed. It's completely clean. Donald says it's good for pain issues and for melancholia. So let me know, yahad.me, and I'll send you a sample. You can try it. I'll tell you how to use it now, because now I know the best way to use it. But the idea, again, that these government agencies are coming after this in such a way. Now, Ann was telling me about another plant that they ridiculously went after, and that was red clover some years ago. They made red clover illegal, which got repealed. So my understanding is, look what's happening with marijuana right now, or CBD. People are cornering the market on CBD, which does work. I've tried that too, but it doesn't work anywhere near as well as Kratom does. And people are selling it, some at a good price, but mostly at greatly expanded prices. And some, if you go to certain sites, you can get a bottle for $1, but it's very dubious what is in there because it's made in China. This is a time maybe not to trust anything that comes from China. Any more comments on that? Let me look at the chat. That's why the doctors want a list of the natural herbs yes, they do, that you take, so they can do something, so they can know what to ban next. They are doing some studies on kratom and coronavirus. And you know, kratom is 90% chlorophyll. That's what it is. And it's 100% fiber. LG Stylo says, I don't have a doctor. I know who that is. HIV patients are being healed with red clover, a blood purifier. Allison says, kratom's very safe. I've used it for several years. It helps me with pain and depression. I'm ordering it now from Indonesia. If anybody wants any, you got to let me know soon. That goes for you who are listening to this online. Do I do this to make money? No, I make very little money on this, and sometimes I lose money. Like last time, I lost $300 and some in the order because it was confiscated by the post office. That's all I can say is confiscation, because too much of it went away when it had been delivered to the post office and disappeared in 1 month. Over the course of 2 weeks, some of you know, at least 15 kilos disappeared in the mail. Just disappeared. Where did they go? I'd like to know. I'm glad that some of them I could insure. One new message. Yeah, they stole it all right. That's what happened when you sent it to me. I don't know who Fortune 2 is, but probably some of you on here. Yes, it did happen to some of you on here. But I hope that you were either reimbursed or got Kratom since then. I'm trying to make this up to everybody because I feel responsible even for the mail. I'm just built that way. Well, it's my hope that we can go farther with natural remedies. I have mostly poo-pooed these things in the past because of my condition, so many things, I was bombarded with suggestions all the time. And when I would take the suggestions, they wouldn't work at all, or they didn't work fast enough, or I didn't see any immediate help there. But with a few now, I am seeing a great deal of relief, including Kratom, including some of these antivirals out of the backyard, and Melaleuca oil, tea tree oil. It's incredible. And I used the red clover for a while, and I found that a certain immunity with that I hadn't had before. I'm just coming off of 3 weeks of stomach flu. And boy, I wish I could have foretold that. I should have probably asked one of those prophets in the think tank. When's the next time I'm going to get sick, since you know so much about the future? Anybody have anything to share before we end up today?
Jackson,
Yeah.
this is Sandra again. Those of us that are into our herbs, I think that, we all have our go-to herbs that we use, but I believe that Yah puts things there for our individual bodies. So what might work for me might not work for someone else, and where their body's
True.
at this moment. So we all kind of have to hunt and look for what it is that works. And we just have to trust Yah to put in front of us those herbs that are going to be a blessing to our body and respect a blessing to Him. So that's all I have
Amen.
to say.
On top of the Kratom now, I'm using a daily dose of moringa. That is probably the strongest superfood, or the most complete superfood in the entire world.
Yep, love
Is
that.
moringa. And I found a deal on moringa. There's a 3-for-1 deal right now on eBay. If you're interested in where that is, I'll look it up for you because I got in on that. Just again, yahad.me. Send me a note or a message. The reason I ask you to use that site is because I get a lot of messages and emails. You're probably slammed with them as well, and a lot of spam. So if you use my form, then I'm going to for sure see that and answer that. Your horses eat moringa. Well, moringa in the Far East is used like any other vegetable. They make soup out of it. They use it as a garnish. They eat it raw off the trees. They eat it every day. And because of the lack of doctors there, it's probably good that they do.
I had planted it outside of where we keep the horses because we've got the 25 acres there. And one of the horses got in, and they ate all the way down to about where the tree was 2 inches around, and then they pulled it out of the ground.
Did the tree grow? I mean, did it keep going? Mine died here.
And it grew. I mean, it grew like 3 feet in a month and a half. I mean, it grows
fast.
Yes, but horses don't put it around your horses because they'll
eat it up. Well, they're healthy horses then. They need to eat that.
You're right.
The moringa trees that I have done, I've planted a lot of them. They seem to go straight up in the air for about 6 feet and then have leaves on top of that 6 feet, and then they die. I think it's root rot.
Oh, might be.
But I'm not sure.
Well, we have a really dry clay soil here, and it just loved it.
Good. I'm surprised, though. Don't you have cold winters sometimes?
Sometimes. I planted them on the south side of the building, And so actually now it's warmed up enough. I'll go ahead and start some more and try and get some more planted.
Well, there is one winter-proof genus of moringa.
Is there?
There's one. I think there's 10 different genus here of moringa. One of them is you can plant up here, and it even grows in Atlanta area.
Well, I think that if I go ahead and just put horse manure around the base of the plant, it'll keep the roots warm during the winter. So
that's biblical.
Got lots of that.
Dig it up, manure around it. Mm-hmm.
Yep. So
just use the horse manure. Doesn't smell so bad. Thank you all for coming. I appreciate it. And it's good to see some people here that really know their stuff, who have been teaching me about this as well. Norman, I have a little package for you coming. Okay. Have a great rest of Shabbat. Get some rest. Read some scripture. Pray for each other. Amen.
My friend, you can get your word in too. Contact us at yahad.me. You'll find an easy contact form there. This way we don't miss anything. You got something to say? Well, go on, say it. We'll tell other people as well if you like, and probably send you a nice gift. May always be with you. Make good choices. And don't forget to pray for us.